So one more thing I'd like to show you in terms of the insert mesh brushes on this character is if we go to B for brush, C for curve, there's another brush that's quite handy here that can be used as an insert brush. That's the curve tube brush. So if I select that, what I want to do is I want to click on this spot right here and then drag out. And that creates this tube that follows a curve. So look how my brush, as I mouse over this curve, it turns blue. If I mouse away, it goes back to red, and it changes its size. This is contextual. When your brush is over a curve, it turns blue, and your draw size is specific for this curve brush. When I move away from it, my draw size changes, and I'm back to a sculpting brush. So what I can do here is I can position this curve. Let's position it inside that sort of hole right there, and then come to the end of it. Now if I wanted to extend this, I could click towards the end of the curve and get that little red line and then drag, and that'll draw an extension onto that curve. I want to make little tentacles here. So this is the start point of my curve, and this is the end point. If I go to the stroke menu and tear this off, I can come down here to the curve button, and then I can turn on lock start. So that locks the start point there. So if I click and drag, I can now position these tentacles without worrying about that start point changing its position. I can click along the curve here, position these tentacles where I want them. Now they don't look like tentacles yet because they just look like tubes. That's why we're going to go to curve modifiers. We're going to turn on size and then open curve fall off. This is the start point and this is the end point. I'm going to flip that vertically so it goes from big to small. Now I'm going to click on the curve, and now we get this nice taper to our tentacles. There we go. Now, if I want to change the size of this tentacle, mouse over here so your cursor turns red, and then change your draw size. Right now it's at 80. I can turn it up to 124. Now click the curve, and that increases the size of the tube. We'll come back here and set it back down to 80. Click again, and that turns it down. Now if I want to get rid of the curve, just tap on the model somewhere where the curve isn't, and the curve now goes away. I can now take my move brush and just sort of shape this and make the last minute changes to it, like so. There we go. And then when I'm happy with it, Control click and drag once, Control click and drag a second time, and that will execute that Dynamesh and blend that tentacle into the head. So now we'll just take the smooth brush and knock back any faceting there. And of course we can turn off symmetry, pressing the X key, and then you can just break symmetry on those because you don't want it to be perfectly symmetrical tentacles. That's a bit strange. So just mask out the shoulder there so we don't end up affecting that. There we go. Now we can take the move brush and make some changes to this. Cool. So there we go. That's how we can use insert multi-meshes on our character to build it up from a base to a character with arms, legs, torso, and tentacles. So now let's look at how we can create our own insert multi-mesh brushes. So we're going to start by just creating our own insert mesh. So I'm going to reset ZBrush. We'll start with a clean scene, and we'll import a mesh and create an insert brush from it. So here we have a sculpture of a skull. This is just a decimated Z tool. It's triangulated, and it's all one subtool. There's no subtools here. So what I want to do is I want to turn this into an insert mesh brush. I want a brush that will insert skulls because that's an awesome brush to have. So what we need to do is we will orient our model on the canvas. When you're creating an insert mesh brush, think about the background of your document window as the surface of the model. Because if I'm going to have an insert mesh brush here, anything that I insert has to have orientation. So when I draw this, oops, that's in curve mode. Let's go to a different brush. B for brush, I for insert. We'll grab the body parts. anything that I insert here, like an ear for example, this has to have orientation. See how it draws out and grows out as if the ears are growing from the head? It doesn't grow out with the ear facing the head. It doesn't grow out with the earlobe facing the head. The ears grow out exactly like this from the head. And that's actually kind of amazing. I should save that. So your model has to have an orientation stored in your brush. So think about the background as the surface of the model. If I store my brush like this, it'll grow from the jaw up. If I store it like this, it'll grow from the back of the head up. If I store it like this, it'll grow from the side of the head up. So let's take a look at what that means. We'll store one like this. I'm going to position the model, and I'm going to go to Brush, Create, and there I've got the button to create an Insert Mesh brush. So I'm just going to click Create Insert Mesh, and it asks me if I want to make a new brush or append it. Let's create a brand new brush, and there we go. We have a brush now that will insert a skull. So watch, if I click and drag, it draws the skull out just like that. Now if I want to affect the depth at which it draws, just go to your brush controls here, go to depth, and just turn the depth control down. Now watch this. They draw sort of countersunk into the head a bit. We can do this again. We can drag them down even further, like this. Now let's say I want to store another position, so maybe I want one skull that grows from the jaw up like that. So I will go to Brush, Create, and then click Create Insert Mesh. Now watch this. It gives me the option to create a new brush or append it. So I'm just going to append it, and that will add a new version of the skull to the same brush. So it tells me now I need to press the M key to access them. So here you see the two different orientations. So now I'll select this one, click and drag, and you see the skulls now grow from the jaw up. So it looks like a skull wearing little skull bunny ears. Now if I want to save this brush, simply go to Brush, Save As, and you can save this as Skull Insert Brush. Now if I want to access my multiple meshes, press the M key and you can access them here, or just access them from the top of the screen there. Now it's also possible to create a insert multi-mesh brush from an existing Z tool. Let's say, for example, I have a Z tool that has multiple subtools. We'll go back to our tool menu here under the light box and grab the Demo Soldier, for example. The Demo Soldier, of course, has multiple subtools. So watch this. If I want to create an insert mesh brush that has insert meshes for every one of these subtools, I simply go to Brush, Create, and now I've got access to Insert Multi-Mesh, Create Insert Multi-Mesh. Click that, and here we go. We've now created a brush that inserts every one of these costume elements, just like that. So let's try that again with a different tool. I'll load up a different tool here. Here we go. Let's focus in, and there we go. Let's go ahead and isolate these just by shift clicking. So here I've got a Z tool which has various bone pieces. I've got a tibia and fibula. I have a femur. I have a radius and ulna, a humerus bone, a skull with a lower jaw, and a skull without a lower jaw. Now, if I make all of these visible, I can go to Brush, Create Insert Mesh Brush, and now I've created a new brush that inserts these various types of bones. And again, if I want to save that brush, I go to Brush, Save As, and I can save that out as a new brush. There we go. So hopefully that helps clarify how we create insert multi-mesh brushes and insert mesh brushes. We're going to talk more about these brushes and other insert brushes in a later video where we look at vector brushes and more customized brushes. But this is our main kind of look at Dynamesh in conjunction with insert mesh brushes. I hope you found this useful, and I'll see you in the next video.